what I was waiting for. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. We have the joint committee meeting for the JCIDA and JCLDC loan review. Privilege of the floor. Do you have anybody that wants? First on our agenda, we have a request from running boards, RBM Manufacturing. Why don't you, for what was, want to walk us through?
Joy at the end.
Joy?
So,
I did the write-up, you talked to them. Just basically, they're looking for an extension of the interest only for 6 months and then I can talk today, amortize the schedule for another 5 years at 3%. That's basically it. And Calvin's here.
Calvin's here to
Questions.
bring you up to date on what's happening, and answer any questions you might have, I believe.
Sure, Calvin, you want to just
Yeah,
give us a quick update on where things are going?
and then Cal, if there's any financial or proprietary stuff that you don't want public, you can ask. We don't executive session discuss any of that stuff, but whatever you can share, what I'm doing now.
Well, being a franchisor is not as easy as I might have thought it was gonna be. It's been tough to build this business. Last year was a tough year for several reasons. One, we couldn't get trucks and can't sell franchise without trucks. My wife and me were very sick with COVID. My wife spent 29 days in the hospital here in Warrentown, and we were both out of work for about 4 months. She's still recovering. But all that aside, and not to make excuses or anything, we're moving forward. We're picking up momentum again. I think my team did an excellent job without me because there's like a little sense of urgency, probably. That's where I come in, and I'm very active in the sale of franchises. So we have 14 franchises up and running at the moment, and the third of them are doing good. A third of them are doing in the middle, and a third of them are struggling some. So we're working with each of them and the different personalities and the nuances and the territories. Learning a lot there. A lot of efforts going into their success. We signed 2 deals last week. One in Topeka, Kansas, and the second deal was our franchise in Denton, Texas, and that was for their second truck with 2 more territories. Our Baton Rouge franchise signed their agreement yesterday. They're selling their franchise to some new people, which is good. They were doing good. They were profitable. They've sold to some people that'll take it to the next level. Our goal is 8 franchises by April 30th. That's when we go dark because we have to refile our FDD with the states and everything else. And because we live in New York, we can't do any business until New York approves us. And then the other states will add on to the period there where we're dark. We think that'll be less this year than the past years, but we don't know that answer. Information we're hearing out there. We got trucks this year. I got dealers calling me to buy trucks from me. We ordered 25, and it's supposed to come 3 the first month and 2 a month after that. Those 24 trucks this year. 24 franchise, that's our goal. And well, 13 of them are already in Buffalo, and 9 of them are on a train, and somewhere in the combat, only 1 is up in production. So our trucks are coming a little quicker than we wanted, but I can sell franchises on money, but I can't sell franchises on trucks. But we have worked out a plan to bring the trucks in intermittently, and I know I can sell some if I need to. I don't want to rush to do that. I want to sell franchises, put people in business, get this thing going to the next level. So we're continuously working with our franchise consultants, people who've been in the business for years, our franchise attorneys, tweaking things. I have an awesome team. The truck, we've improved so much how the truck's being built. Our new FDD is much more robust. That's our franchise disclosure document. We're bringing in people, that are better financially strong. Explaining things better, make sure they clearly understand what this business is about. Make sure they understand all the fees associated. We have realized we're not a good executive model business, we're more of an owner operator. So we're taking that off the table, even the semi-absentee. I think we'll get there, but there's a lot of work to master that, more of an owner operator thing. So our second franchise in Texas, they bought a second truck last fall. So we have 2 franchises, 2 trucks, one on order. And our pipeline, it continues to grow. We're taking steps to eliminate brokers. They take 40% of the franchise fees and do things more direct. Currently, most of my deals are with brokers, which just sucks, but we wouldn't have the deals without them. But up until this point, we've done a pretty even pace. But the goal is to get away from brokers. And Entrepreneur Magazine, when it comes out April 30th, the next issue, we will be ranked in that as a new and upcoming franchise, emerging brand. I don't know our ranking, I won't know to the 13th, but we're excited for that.
What kind of regulations do your franchise come against? You know, say you want to go to a municipality, do they have, you know, what kind of regulations are in place, or what do you run up against?
Well, we review the regulations everywhere we're going to go.
Okay.
And mostly we follow the traffic laws of the state we're in. And some of the traffic laws are outdated. We're working in Pennsylvania now to working with some government people down there to see if we can get those laws updated. There's trucks running in Pennsylvania, but I got a guy in Penn State that wants to buy, but the way the law is written, until we can get some language changed, he's on hold. There are some communities that have regulations, but it's few and far between. Mostly we just follow the traffic laws.
Okay.
Would those regulations be under zoning in regards to sign zonage or some of the local regulations? What would be an example?
Yeah, there's some sign laws that specifically call out our trucks positively and negatively. And most laws don't even address it. Period.
Did you have a site in Syracuse, Carol, too, that you were operating from?
We never had a franchise in Syracuse. We were down there pre-COVID, and then we dropped back from COVID, and we sold those trucks. We were short on trucks. And at this point, I'm not running back to Syracuse. Do our R&D here locally and work with the franchises. I'd like to sell a franchise in Syracuse, but we're not. We'll go down there for events. We were there last week for concerts. We'll go in and out of Syracuse a lot for events, but we're not down there every day.
Have you ever considered your technology and your venture is all land-based? Have you ever considered a set of trucks, boats?
Well, people send me pictures from Florida every time they go down there.
Well, I'm thinking that concept to the shoreline.
Sure.
versus the trucks,
Sure,
not Miami, the river, all those kinds of.
the thought comes up all the time. But right now, I got to stay more focused on this. We're always looking at special projects, working with my brother and his new company. Highway aero boards have been the same forever. And trying to come up with better aero board, better message board. Starting out working with paint trucks because that's the industry we know. And we got some cool stuff there that might turn into something, in which case I would just build them. My brother would handle the marketing. But he flew in some people last week to look at a prototype we built. They liked it, gave us some ideas. We still got some work to do. Some of the software we built in-house, we call it the RVM Garage, our back office, because everything we do, it's got to be duplicatable. We got to access it, a lot of training and moment of franchise. And through my son-in-law, one of my son-in-laws, who works at Highlight, we saw it one day, we were talking, and he said, "Oh, Tina's got to look at this." So now we've met with Highlight, and we're about to sign a deal with them to build the same thing for them, but their parent company, we met with them, they, you know, they're interested for all their companies, but I just wasn't comfortable taking that on right now. But it's pretty flattering. That we still something for ourselves, and that's a quality. So we're doing a lot of good stuff, a lot of momentum, but yeah, there's struggles along the way, challenges every day.
So in terms of the banking needs you have listed here, are the banks supporting what you're looking for there?
Washington Savings Bank has been excellent. They've been there. You know, I go into town when I'm concerned or worried, and I go into town when things are good. We talk through, and I just would mark them our way. They've needed, but they've been excellent.
Communication.
As I stopped in, give you guys updates, and as we have, the Topeka, Kansas deal was slow to close, but it was our first 7(a) loan with the SBA. We've done a few express loans with the SBA. Could get some of them under our belt, so we can get through those systems.
Morning, Rob and Rob. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Calvin and staff. I kind of had one or two questions, mainly more for staff, about procedurally, support the action, just need to understand. So we're saying effective March 1st. So we're going backwards instead of forwards, which is more traditional. Was there in fact a payment made for March 1st? Or are we making that interest only?
We're waiting for this action, Rob.
Excuse me?
We're waiting for action on this proposal.
Okay, so there was, it's essentially it's in abeyance right now until we actually figure out if it's a full payment or interest only.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because I thought, I couldn't remember if this original term expired 28 February, so you answered my second question. Okay.
And you're correct, Rob, that is not typical, but we have done this before.
All right, it just seems like that we could have done this last month then, instead of going backwards. That was pretty much it. So we're going backwards to try to retroactively capture what would have been a full payment to interest only, and then go forward and add the, basically, I guess it's 7 months you're adding on to the end, because you're taking this month, which should have been full payment. Or is it still 6?
It's still 6.
Okay, seems like it should be 7.
Well, this will be the first of 6, so there'll be 5 more after this one.
Okay. All right, well, that's true. Never mind. I understand my own stupid math here. You're going backwards to March 1st. So it's from March 1st is the first payment. Yeah, okay. That was it, Dave. Just trying to wrap my head around the procedure of doing things in the past instead of the future.
If I read this correctly, you've only done on interest only, basically. It's the loans and then issue.
No, there were 2 or 3 principal payments made, principal and interest.
December, we start paying
December.
paying that. And our other small loan we have, we paid that off in December too.
The golden rule.
Balance has been reduced by roughly what, 20 grand. So
Roughly, let's start at 4. That's correct.
Okay, so we have RBM Manufacturing Corporation has requested a 6-month period of interest only payments effective March 1st, 2022. And an adjustment to the amortization schedule, adding those 6 months to the end of the loan. The current balance on their 400,000 is 381, 391, 11. And that's as of February 28th. Any other questions or?
No, I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Send it to the board?
Yeah, I'll make a first or.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Calvin, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Harry's here, we'll bring Harry in.
We have a loan request from Conval Energy Incorporated.
Yes. Yes. Harry's here, he's Joyce.
Okay.
No, no, this one.
Good morning. Moving right along, right?
Yep, we are.
We want to hear.
So we have the Conval, it's unusual in the request that we're trying to do here. This is an unusual project, an unusual opportunity we have here in front of us, we've been working on since the end of 2020. Harry's project been moving right along, they're from the planning board, town planning board, now it's been the county planning board review as well. The part of the package in terms of the pilot, the property, we're also trying to get Conval into like what we're doing with Conval right now. As close to $1.25 million of working capital as we can, while they work on getting the building construction and stuff like that. We're looking at participating, at least for now. They're not official, but the Sackets Harbor Local Development Corporation, I think, is good for 100,000, maybe even 200. At least, 150, 200. We're meeting with them April 11th to see if they're willing to put it in the package. Our other lending partners, the Watertown Local Development Corporation, the Watertown Development Fund, Watertown Local Development Corporation, trust they have a little more flexibility, but we're still working on getting their comfort level with the fact we don't typically put money in up front on our project. The project is not finally approved yet, or it doesn't have a current financing in place, but I think we're seeing enough progress and have a good feeling about things that we're seeing that we feel he's going to get there. And so discussion today is kind of arrange what role the board is comfortable with after hearing from Harry in terms of providing for that working capital. And if we come to what we're comfortable with, what we might, maybe in the meantime, while we try to get the others on board, give them another month for their committees and boards, and maybe fund a portion of that or a chunk of that as a short-term note that we can roll into a longer-term loan. So I guess start with here to give kind of an overview of where he's at with the project, discussion back and forth, and then if we get into stuff that's more proprietary, then we can go to executive session. So Harry?
Yeah, so since we last met, it's been 7 months now, completed all the preliminary submissions to Huntsville, so all that's moving on quite well. We have also dismantled the Sunflower factory up in Oregon. And we have a date of May 31 by which we have to exit out of that. We've also estimated the number of truckloads. It's approximately 250 as of last night. So the project is moving along. It's delayed by about 3 or 4 months for a number of reasons. From our standpoint, all of the equipment is fully paid up in cash. We've got significant value of what we have purchased, and the value of what we've purchased now has actually gone up significantly because of the current global dynamics. To give you an idea, last night or yesterday, the Department of Commerce has announced an investigation in all the Chinese manufacturers who are using Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and to divert against the tariff, because there is an existing tariff that we can't put on trade. It's made with forced labor. So they started saying that it's coming from Vietnam and so forth. And there's an investigation that's going on right now. So the queue in line right now, if you want to get panels, it's going to be very challenging for you to get panels. So the timing for us is actually great. States. And so the value of the equipment has actually gone up significantly since we purchased it. The challenge that we have run into are twofold. When estimated all the cost in April 2021, the number prices were up 50%. And once you allow the number to give you the tune of what we're talking about, we were the second largest purchaser of lumber in the Pacific Northwest. If you just look at the quarter here, going down to Medford.
Those are building crates for the equipment.
We have 110,000 pieces of equipment. We've got, I don't know how many, we lost count of how many crates and skids that we have. And you're talking 250 dollars. So we consume so much lumber, the lumber cost actually went up by 50%. Labor cost is up by 40%. But the bigger issue that we have run into in the last 2 months or 2.5 months, the transportation cost has gone from $3,700 a container to $9,500. So our transportation cost has gone up by almost all those units. Is there a justification for it? No, but that's what we're dealt with. Last 24 to 48 hours, it has come down from 9,500 to around 8,600. I'm expecting in the next 2 weeks for the price to come down and be dropping. As on date to day, the company still does not have any debt. Everything is paid for in cash. So we have injected significant amounts of equity. We've invested into equity. For warehousing,
This we're talking about.
so for warehousing, we are very close to finalizing. Some of you may already know it, but we're already at a point where we're building 2 warehouses that we're going to own. And they're both in Watertown for a total of about 160,000 square feet of space to store all the equipment. So that is being purchased in the next week or 2. And that is another asset on our books that we are going to have. And then separately from our business in 2021, our construction business closed with $4.8 million in revenues. And this year, we're expecting to close or targeting revenues of $60 million. Out of the $60 million, we're already in a contract right now at $16 million, building a data center, and we're waiting on a second contract to kick off. That would be another $16 million. Our target is by the end of the year. The construction business is going to close the year with about a target revenue of 60, which is actually pretty good. And we're really taking the equity at the net amount of that is to basically support the expenses that have gone up significantly because of market conditions. So despite challenging market conditions, we're all continuing to move forward with the project. We've also announced some very large projects in Maine, which are going to add panels. And once that gets approved, this production line is basically our 4 years production line is fully out of place. So I think we're moving along quite well. I'm happy to answer questions. I think from our perspective, I do want to thank Dave and team for allowing us to work with you guys as we go through this process. Because I think we've been fully transparent. You know why. So everything that we're doing on the hiring front, we've done really well. We've been ahead of our curve on the hiring front. Hired a number of people from people who are retired veterans and wives and spouses. I think we'll continue to do that. So I'm hearing, sometime early Q1 to late Q1 to get this factory up and running. And right now, my immediate, short-term focus right now is to move the equipment over and get it out to the Watertown area. And we're planning to start that within the next 2 weeks. The first structure will be rolling out next 2 weeks once we finalize our numbers with the transportation company. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
And Harry, maybe kind of explain to the board and why the working capital is important to the public.
So there are a number of reasons why the working capital is important. One is it gives us pushing on capital in the event that we end up with unforeseen market conditions. So the prices of transportation is now up 300%. It allows us to tap the capital against our equity, equity, significant amounts of equity. We've also got revenues, and we're using those revenues to augment that. On the hiring front, it's extremely challenging to find the right people in this market. So what we're doing is we find the right people, we're hiring them, even though we are 5 or 6 months ahead of target. We're doing that now to get them better at the organization. So talent is going to be a challenge to find, or the right talent is going to be challenge to find. So based on those conditions, we are now requesting the working capital lines, ahead of the move, so that we have enough capital, so that we don't delay the exit from Oregon with the Sunpower building. And once we're here, we're expecting groundbreaking to start. May 1 may be a bit challenging now, but June 1, or the very, very latest July 1. So we've already appointed, was to appoint a member for the document, the term sheets, the binding term sheets that have been signed between us to get the debt going for the factory. So that's moving along quite well. We're already planning the second factory now. So our goal now is to put the working capital in along with our additional equity, just move the equipment over, get it here, get started on the construction June 1, very latest July 1, and get the factory up and running by Q1 of 2020.
So in terms of your business that you're speculating for 22, how do you fulfill those? As I said, business, the building is up to 23.
So 2022 business is primarily construction. So we're building data centers right now.
So that's Lincoln Infrastructure, which is one of the Commonwealth subsidiary.
Right. So Commonwealth subsidiary is Lincoln Infrastructure, which is a construction firm. The construction firm actually had a project last year in January, early February, in Rouse's Point, and then we have a project in Maine that we're building right now. It's a data center project. So we've got third-party customers who are utilizing to construct. So that is keeping our revenues. We have additional projects that are coming in on the construction side on Lincoln. So that's providing the revenues into the company.
So the 16 million from your for the revenue is from having completed that build out from House's Point. So you won't be repaying more.
No, we just did the construction. We've got a second project now that has already started. We've got it coming in already. We're waiting on the projects number 3 and 4 to start. 3 should start probably in June, July. And then we've got 2 more projects that are lining up. One pretty large size project, and Lincoln is also going to do well. We've got another 3rd and 4th project that are coming up in Northeast.
That project, how much solar arrays went into that project?
These are data centers. The solar arrays are going to go next. Once the data centers are up and running, then we're going to put solar into feed the data centers. They're about 5 to 8 megawatts each, but one of them can be even substantial, about 50 megawatts. And one that they do. A lot of folks now are wanting to get data centers.
And they're relying on solar for it.
Yeah, solar is your primary driver, some wind, but the wind doesn't come direct into the plant, so you have to get it off the grid. You better go through that. So there are some challenges with that, but it's hard as absolutely solar part.
So every one of these centers, you're actually cultivating a secondary market for the solar arrays.
Exactly. Not only do we do the construction, but they also need the power solution. So we're providing the power solution to get the construction up and running. the data center up and running, and then we follow back up with solar panel. So it's benefiting the company in multiple ways.
Dave, I had a question on the second lien position, that is, to the first lien and primary lending eventually.
Or, at some point, if you want, we can even talk to them and do a very fast, so if that works, but I think we could have a secondary lien, but we have plenty of assets at this stage.
The term sheet indicated that no subordinate lending was allowed.
No subordinate lending is allowed at that project, so at that entity, because that entity is.
I'm talking about the facilities that we're building.
Right, so the facility that I'm building is a separate SPV and a separate LLC on a project finance basis.
So I guess I'm not sure what it means when the term sheet reflects no subordinate lending.
So you're lending to the parent, right? You're lending to the parent. You've got,
But if they're taking the first position on the equipment and they say in the term sheet no subordinate lending, how does that work?
so the equipment, they'll take the first position on the equipment. But you're getting a second lien position, or you would talk to them and say that you would have a second lien as long as they approve it when it goes to the
Okay, so they would have to approve that.
So what you can do is, and if it doesn't happen, then at that point, what we will do is we will close you guys out before we we'll have that close you out. But we have seen situations where, they're lending to the asset, which is the factory, and it has equipment in the factory, but you also have other positions in this company. You've got 2 warehouses that we're going to be owning. You've got,
They be financed.
it's not. One of them is free and clear. The other one has financing, but it's self-financed, but the equity position is there. So you're gonna have multiple assets, and then you also have income coming in, from linking the subsidiary going into the parent. So you're providing capital at the corporate level versus a parent, and we have a lien against the parent. We have a UCC filing against the parent, right? And then you can have a second lien position, which we can notify the incoming lender that you're loan to the parent, and this is your amount. And they can, they'll say, okay, you're under the code.
When do you anticipate site plan approval?
I think we have a meeting. I saw something last night.
The town planning board did their review, went to the county for 239, and that's what they're talking about last night.
Right.
So then they send their comments back to the town board, so.
So we have.
So then saying you shoot for May 1, it could be June 1, but probably by June 1.
So we have public hearing next week.
Right.
And then we were advised that May 1, we should be able to get our approvals on May 1.
So what do you anticipate? I mean, I know you have a pretty aggressive construction timeline. Just from the experience that I've seen over the last couple of years, supply chain has been extremely difficult with regard to steel, concrete, those types of things. How do you anticipate that number?
Yeah, so we've checked all that. We're looking at 3 to 4 months on steel, concrete has been 3 to 4 months, so it's not like it's 20 around. So we've spoken to a number of people who have done our analysis. We're getting it like 10 months to construct.
So this quarter, steel this quarter, you're 4 months out from there, and then another 5 months.
Well, I mean, by the time you, to be very honest with you, I spoke to a bunch of complete guys and I didn't see a full complete. Complete is not bad. In fact, in one of the buildings that we're looking at, we need to put a new floor in. They gave us a quote and it's 45 days before the floor. We just found it. So I don't know Concrete, I'm not.
We didn't have an issue with our.
Yeah. Concrete is not something that we have an issue with. The only issue that we're gonna have with is actually breakers and switches. And transformers. The breakers, switches and transformers have a 6 month. That's what. Even the construction site that we're working on right now, we have to get concrete rebars. It's 30 days out.
Skills actually come down the last couple, 3 weeks.
Especially this week. Especially this week, because the port condition is not away. They're now back to normal times, but peak periods of the normal times. The ports are actually now back to, getting back to normal. So I think by the time we start construction, you're actually going to see things start to get a bit more normalized. On concrete, we've not seen any delays on concrete. The only delays that we see right now are transformers, switchgear, which is 6 months out. And that's primarily because Asia had COVID in Korea and in Vietnam, where they manufacture these tools and these equipment, and they've had, shorter man hours on the line, people waiting to get it. So there's a 6 month wait, but we don't see that being an issue. If you go in and pour the concrete, put the steel frame up and you put the roof up, all the equipment starts moving in onto the floor, you start putting the equipment together, and then the power comes in, and plug it in, and there you go. In the meantime, you're on to do some genset until you get the site power up. But, some of the delays that we have also had in negotiating with National Grid, you guys know all that. They've come back with, what I think should have been the right solution in the first place. So we've gone from a 19 million spend to 1.5 million.
I guess the upgrade of the two-phase line,
Yeah. It's just an extension of the 3-phase line from Pattyville down to, which is what we've been talking about all along, but they said that's not possible. They want us to spend 19 million, and then they went back to what I thought was, was right.
building a substation to upgrade the line.
Yeah.
So that, as of right now, that issue is resolved with agreement.
I think I know that issue is resolved. We actually have filed an application with National Grid already. Our engineers are working on it. And so I think that issue is solved. I think our expectation, if I go back, in terms of our budget, we had an expectation, we put our equity capital in it. And I can tell you, between the lumber cost and labor cost, it's just pretty brutal, and now the transportation cost. So we've managed it. We just pumped more equity in. And our business has grown, our revenues have come in, so we recycle those revenues back into it. We're stuck with it and we've moved on. But yeah, we feel good about it. And I think that the market conditions are the times right. This is as good as a market condition. There are a lot of the calls that we have had with a variety of different folks. The starting statement is, we understand the tailwinds. You don't have to explain to us the macro situation, which is great. We save 30 minutes in every conversation. That's the macro.
2 weeks ago, I was listening to energy companies testifying in Washington. The head of Shell announced at that hearing, because they're diversifying into renewables, the carbon going from carbon to renewables. Announced that they just allocated their stockholders meeting $320 million for solar investment.
Yeah. So I think the bigger issue is solar farms on the fields. I think that's going to be the bigger issue, which is why, take the location that is remote, where nobody's going to complain from a very large solar farm there, which is actually moving in the right direction, because we've got a very large group that is critical to getting government approvals if they want to join with us. As of 3 days ago. So That's gonna drive demand for panels. The other thing we're also doing is, we're gonna have panels to sell from Q4 of this year. So we're getting the panels made out in Asia. We're gonna sell the panels, get the certification process rolling, get the brand name up and running until our factory's live, so that we have product in the market. Because right now there is a greenfield product. So we've already got our data sheets, we've already got the strategy down. So we will have product in the market for, and then it gets phased out when our factory is up and running. That product will get phased out to product that's manufactured here.
Are you seeing anything on the supply side for components, metals that you're gonna need? On the input side, are you seeing any disruptions there in the next 2 years, 3 years, vulnerability?
Yeah, so, oh, man, I was gonna say, we haven't announced it, but I think we're short of announcing factory number 2, which is gonna get for sale. We're already in discussions with a number of parties. That's going to be the vulnerability. So as soon as we break ground, this factory, my focus is on factory 2, which is the gateway for cell factory, which is a $360 million investment for 3 megawatts of capacity. And it's already in the plans.
So you have all your permits in line right now, here to start construction?
Don't have the permits yet. We are expecting the permits from the town of Huntsville first week of May, I believe, in the public hearing. So after the public hearing, the next set of permits, the permits that we would get would be on a first week of May. I don't know the exact date.
Yeah, then they cut through the state.
Don't need any permits for the state. It's all up to the county level.
So there you received, I did see that you received two different term sheets from 2 separate entities.
Well, the final term
They're
sheet,
just, those term sheets are
they're
confidential.
the term sheet, the data inside the term sheets are confidential. We'll hold off the names right now.
Right.
So we do have the term sheets. The term sheets are signed. The final term sheet goes forwarded over to Dave. These are 2 entities that work together in partnership, and there's going to be a third that's going to bring in C-based financing. So C-based financing on equipment and stuff, so it reduces your equity contribution. And it's already fine. So we're already in due diligence.
When do you anticipate having actual commitments?
I think we're 60 to 90 days away from commitments from that, because it also has to go through a USDA process. So I'm thinking 60 to 90. I think we've got a pretty strong data room, which I believe you guys have access to as well. And all the data is there. It's just going through.
So they're in process.
They've already started. They've started their due diligence from, I think they're pointing there. Some stuff that need to go through those docs. And we're probably looking at 60.
I know this is your meeting, I'm just trying to gather information.
My not gonna work since we're looking at them as a partner lending, right? So
Right, so, what's the application? Of the business model? That ESC tax credits are secured. My understanding is they're not at this point.
I think they are not expecting. We're in conversations with them. I have a meeting with them actually tomorrow, and we can talk to.
Okay.
I think you're better off talking to him directly than anything else, because he's well aware of it. We've had strong communication with him. The problem that we have had is when we initially put together the numbers in terms of the cost in terms of what we're going to be paying folks. That was estimated, and I believe it was December, January of 2021. December 2020, Jan 2021 is when we estimated those numbers. We updated that once last year, but we're not getting anybody for less than an increase of 40% from what I estimated. So now we're at a point where we're mature and we have seen the highs, and now it's leveling out. Whether it's transportation costs, whether it's labor costs, whether it's any of the other the supply costs in terms of investment, all that is leveled out. So I would move tomorrow to basically say, here are the final numbers. Let's go ahead and finalize it. There is a signed version, but that signed version was more public, and I'm happy to tell you that in an executive session. I haven't, but yeah.
So I'm just thinking timeline wise, I mean, in terms of if we trust it with something, probably looking at the very early bits. I mean, if you do, committee meeting next month, board meeting next month, so the end of April. But if your board's going to want to see the commitment or final approval, that's going to provide us back another, probably June. I guess the question for us is kind of how much do we need to get to this point in time? Say by mid-April, because set target will for sure next 2 weeks. Now, how much would we need to, if the board won't do it? They haven't decided to go yet, but we need to flow you to kind of get things going.
Yeah. We can get to 8:15 or so. I think that we're okay. And if I can get a pending commitment, that's fine. Then we'll check. I'll go to my shareholders and check out, like what he's saying. Hey, there's an approval pending this. And it's good for them to see that there's another party coming alongside. Sure. Share us there. And also part of this also for us is we would like some skin in the game from the county side for a number of reasons. If a Chinese firm comes in tomorrow and starts saying, I want to build in the waterfront Jefferson County area, and I'm willing to pump a lot of money in, and all of a sudden we get competition, which we shouldn't, right? These are other factors that are really, really important for us as well. We're committing, a pretty significant amount of equity. We're committing to build this, and we're already in it, right? We're month 8.5 in pregnancy, so we're moving forward with it, and all we're saying is, look, we've got enough assets. The company has zero debt. We have more debt, zero. We're pumped, enough equity in. We're over equitized at the moment. We'll continue to do that. We've got revenue, we've got fantastic revenues. And we're driving revenues without any debt, right? So we've got all the parameters there. So I don't see any issues on payment. I don't see any issues on any of that. So what we need is in this partnership, I think it allows all of us to have skin in the game and move forward.
So just from the local development corporation's perspective, our board and committee is very much supportive of this project, and we want to play a role in it. We just got to get through the structural issues on how we do it. And I'll be working with Dave going forward to do that. They want to have to come to one of our meetings. So just so you know that, the one caveat with looking at the local development corporation is whenever we do a project that's outside of the city limits, we need to bring it to city council to demonstrate that there's an economic impact to the city. So if we get to that point, I'm going to probably want to speak with you with regard to your employment levels, possibly the number of people that live in the city of Watertown, those types of things. And that it's just kind of a procedural issue that I have to have.
You need to have a backing on the
I need to
data.
have it back in regard to the fact that
Plus you got two new warehouses of size and capacity that are actually in city of Warren, which we are investing in. And both of them were in very bad shape and they're getting converted into, top, warehouses. I think some of you guys know where that is. And I mean, these are rundown places that are now going to create value for the city as well. And like I said, I think our path is, it's moving forward. I think the hump of the challenges that we're past that, right? So we're now at the point where we just need to get all the equipment out of the order. And that alone is a massive undertaking. You're talking 250 truckloads. But I'm happy to come into any meetings to address that. And if you've got a list of questions, let us know what that is, and we're more than happy to answer them. I think the good chunk of the people that we have, they're all, I think they're all living here in Wartown.
That's perfect.
Right. That's good. Really addresses, so the commitment that we have to the city hiring people from local, hiring veterans, hiring wives and spouses. And I think we're doing that. We're not just saying it, we're actually doing it. So you can literally walk into the next room right now and you'll see that.
Yeah, that's all we consider the project. They don't have any say in who, that's how we work. Yes, there is.
I don't think that'll be an issue. I think we can do it, but it's just a process.
Yeah. But the good thing for you there is you're gonna have two warehouses also in this town of size and capacity that doesn't exist.
What happens to those, what are you gonna do those warehouses once the building is built?
I think there was one conversation with some group that wants to basically just for 2024 and 2025. And if that happens, those warehouses are already spoken for. And we're not even done renovating the warehouse yet.
So you would look either lease or sell.
We won't sell it. We definitely won't sell it. We'll keep the warehouses because we need the space. So if you're talking about 3 gigawatts of capacity per year, you're talking 6 million pounds a year. Yes, you're going to have just-in-time inventory where it's going to go out to the customers, but you need to have some on supply. Warehouse your inventory, warehouse your raw materials. So we are building that at the business park. We're building that, but still, and I think at some point we do need that space.
Okay. Look at what you're getting, Don. It's my challenge to the city. The outside is, my God, after you get done analyzing this, you shouldn't be into 300. You should go back to trying to get a 5 for
Well,
what you're getting.
there's been discussion about that. The sticking point of us right now is what happens if you come in and don't come through with the bank. That's,
Let's put it this way. I mean, if the shareholders are gonna write that check, we're gonna write that check. And I don't think there's gonna be any issues getting the debt into this factory. You got a company with revenues with 0 debt. You got a company with revenues, 0 debt. We do our own project development. We've got demand, right? And I think some of you are on calls with the government agency. You see the direction that that's going in. You got credits from the, ESD. I mean, I don't know how else I can structure this. Coming as a banker, when I look at it and I de-risk this, I don't know how much more I can de-risk this, right? I mean, I
made this statement. I mean, between our, we've probably loaned 100,000 to some businesses situations that's more at risk.
Yeah.
And $1 million would be to.
I mean, to really speaking, right, like the last 9 years, I just hated debt. I mean, I come from a bank and I know what debt does to you, right? But I just hate debt. I don't want debt, right? But, you do need to, have debt if you want to attract more people to put money in your company. You got to have debt because you do need that leverage. You need it. But what you've got though is, you know, our documents say the value of the robots is $6.5 million. But I guarantee you, if I want to go sell those robots right now, it's probably $8 to $10 million. But that's not reflected in any statement, but we know that. You can't get, try getting it in 3 months. And we've got almost 175 robots. You can use it in any industry. But
It does sound like there's opportunity to go to accommodate Watertown Trust. Stopgap, first, you know, and Harry's indicated he doesn't need the full amount right now for working capital, so I think he could phase in.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the approach that we look at.
Rob, any questions on your end? Okay. John?
No.
Board members, any other?
No, I mean, so the only thing I'm thinking just conceptually here, I mean, we discuss it more in detail, but, you know, now we're talking about this, perhaps what we do, so we end up, you know, typically when we do participation agreements, we have agreements with other participating lenders, one loan agreement. The lead agency, in this case, would be us, collects it and then distributes it. In this case, perhaps to buy time, we, between the now and board meeting and formalizing, talking to Justin, but maybe we do to kind of get the legal costs down, doing multiple loan agreements is maybe we somehow just kind of float a note to Harry first. Demand loan at a time, and then call that in when we get the other proposal on board and do a master loan agreement. Then
So what would you like from us today?
well, I think if we could, if the board will, I think 800,000 to float to Harry in the meantime, you know, for the board to consider.
You're saying 800, not the 850?
We 800 do it, right?
yeah, if I have to, if that's 50 is a challenge.
Or if we can do the 850, I mean, in the meantime, when we get to the point where we're willing to get the other participating, we're on board, we get it, then when we call that note in, we may then, you know, depending on what they come in at, we can reduce our, but we're just looking at sort of a short-term note for the time being, to get Harry moving, and then as we get those on board, pull in, and we can reduce some of our.
So that's what you can anticipate the cost of transferring. That's what it's like.
It's more. The transportation cost initially was estimated at 1 million. As of 2 weeks ago, it went to 3.2. And now it's down to, if not down to 1.8. You see how it's nightmare. And again, we're committed, right? Like I said, we're a month, eight and a half, right? We're committed. There's nothing we can do. And you know, gas prices went up and the transportation companies were not even giving us quotes until we accepted the price at the top. They won't even give us a quote until we signed off the fuel purchase agreement where the fuel prices were at the top of the market.
So the top means 3.2 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, what were the fuel prices at the top of the market last month? So they won't even give us a quote. And only in the last 2 days, we started getting quotes back because it started normalizing.
So now it's down to 1.
Yeah. So we went from a million estimate, huh?
Can you cap it?
They won't cap it. That's the problem. They won't cap it. Very, very difficult to cap it because if you want to cap, it's that number right there at the top. So
That whole transportation project, the alternative, I would think an alternative might have been containerized shipping. Is that with the cost, that doesn't even begin to compete versus
the best is intermodal. It's truck, rail, truck. That's the best. And we had estimates at 3,600 per day. Okay,
and you gotta handle it 3 times.
including all of that was 3882 per container. And it went from 3882 a container to 9,500 and now down to 8,000 or something. But I think it's going to come back down by another, it should come back down by 1,500 a container in the next week.
So when you sign that contract So when does that 3.1 stop being the high point? I mean, if you sign a contract that's at 1.8, and they start moving things, can still move 3.1? No. Okay.
From that day you start and you say
Okay.
the next, lock me in for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And what we're doing now is we are actually bringing in 2 to 3 different providers instead of just one. With HFX.
It's like a construction project we're familiar with, where once they get that price, they have 10 days to accept it or not.
Can we get copies of the number?
We're fully transparent. I'm happy
No,
to show you what our,
no, just,
yeah.
just because that is a positive thing with regard to our consideration. It's not really. Talking about 8 recovery.
We're covering that.
That's different.
We're covering
That's an important piece, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I look, I mean, you spent 6-7 million on all this stuff. I mean, an extra, I'm not gonna stop this for an extra 500 or anything. Just can't.
That's one of the discussions we had.
I mean, in the ideal world, I would have never, wanted to take any debt. I would have questioned it all on equity or development. I don't have a say, right, in the actual world, but we also want to see some skin in the game from the towns too. We do need to see that, right? It gives a lot of confidence to the new lenders coming in when they know that, hey, you guys are in too. It's completely different.
Yeah, I've gotten calls from the banks.
Right, you've gotten calls from the banks, and we've been on calls with government agencies that we're talking about, whether it's USDA loan guarantees or other guarantees. And, it's, this whole concept of a public-private partnership is the way the future is going to be. I see how it's working. And it needs to be that, it needs to be a public-private partnership. We can't do this by ourselves, we just can't.
And to reinforce that, the one question I came to meeting with, it ties into that. Once we're done and the land has been transferred, we've got $2 million in development at the airport already. The land is going to roll over. It's going to become your asset and all over development. That part is more or less going to show up on your balance sheet. So I guess my question to us is, what will we be showing as any kind of contribution with all of that into this project? Yeah, we're putting up right now 850 worth of capital, probably going to bump to a little more than that. We'll have $1 million in working capital plus the development property at the airport plus all of that property. So will we be showing at the end game a year from now that we have our contribution to this project is going to reflect the value of that land?
Actually, you know what? That is super interesting because this is the first time I'm actually hearing about that number. Because right now, if I look at that term sheet does not include that in-kind contribution. That raises the total equity number of that project. That doesn't include that at the moment. But what I think would, and this is where I think, and I've gone back to the appraiser, because the appraiser provided an appraisal value that was so low that I just couldn't even believe, how low it was. And I had a conversation with him and I said, look, you can't buy even an acre of land in that area for that value that you're talking about. This is the current value of that. And I think you need to go back and redo it. He has agreed that we are actually correct because you had that income. So that in-kind contribution right now is not reflected per se as an in-kind contribution. What I need from actually you, Dave, would be when we go back to our lenders and say, this is the amount of capital that has been injected by the county, which is being transferred in kind, so that they don't end up valuing that land at $1. You know what I'm saying? And that's actually very important because what ends up happening is we pump more equity to offset that, right? We're pumping more equity in for reasons that we shouldn't even be doing it, because you, already now we're at 38% or 37% equity, or almost close to 40% equity right now, if I go to my lender right now, which is much more than what most people do.
But now that, you know, the power issue has been resolved, were you not going in there and there was a build out, I mean, that, in a year from now, that property value should be 10 times worth what it is. Well,
Because it's gonna have all the infrastructure in there.
Right, 10, but considerably more.
We got 2 million into the property right now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Right.
And then we had talked about that as far as contribution.
So given that we're in a public environment, I mean, I'm very focused right now on the building blocks of getting this factory up and running, but I will tell you that and we are committing to an ingot wafer cell factory of 3 gigawatts, which would, right now, there's no ingot wafer cell manufacturing in the country. And we're committing to that, and that's gonna be at the same site, so that's factory number 2. The minute we close up the loans and we ground break, we're immediately, the next plan is to get to the ingot wafer cell factory, which is about a total of about 360 million investment.
That's what when people ask, so you're doing the whole property just with manufacturers, so that, you know, there's more products coming behind the system again. That question about that side of the county.
Right, and I think some of you are already aware of that because of your calls that we're already having. I'm happy to invite you on the next call because I think it'd be really good. It's at 4 p.m. today. It's weekly calls. You may want to listen to that. It helps you to be constructive in terms of, you know, what is actually coming down the road.
So
The Zoom for
I think the committee's ready. I entertain a motion that we move with the $850,000. We're gonna call this a bridge loan.
Yeah.
We call it.
Yeah, let's call that, yeah.
I'll move that.
Second,
Any further discussion?
If I can get a few minutes on executive session, so I can just walk you through a couple other things so you guys are aware.
Certainly. Hold the vote until after the executive session. Motion to go into executive session.
Allow Doc to join us as well. Yeah, they're 9:50.
I'm going to make that motion. Rob, second?
second, yep,
All in
Second.
favor, right?
I
Second, please.